Who've Leeds got playing from now, had you? I've not really been following Championship.
Who Leeds what, sorry?
Who are the Leeds star players?
Star players, Ben White's probably his best player. He's on loan. He's on loan.
All right. I got a few people then. Right, anyway, I think we're ready to go. Good evening, Super League fans. Welcome to this midweek review show. It's been a while since we've had one of them. Joining me today is Ryan. Hello, Ryan. Manager of Bolton Phoenix, who are on a bit of a run at the moment. Still decent results coming in, and another manager whose team has picked up quite well recently. Let's have a quick look here. Yeah, RC Celtic, we've got them here. Chris, you're here as well.
Yeah, hello everybody.
Right, I hope everyone can hear. People can't hear Ryan, says Ian. Can you hear him now? Ryan, say something.
Ian, can you hear me?
Ryan said that his team was doing well, in case anyone missed it. Excellent. So what we're going to do tonight is that we are going to have a quick look at the results from the weekend. Talk a little bit about who did well and what we were expecting from the next round of fixtures. And then we're going to go through a list of, I think, 14 players that we've come up with, or that I've come up with. And I'll let Ryan and Chris offer their opinion on the guys that we're looking at, and see whether they could fit into their squads, or whether they think they might be possible prospects for one of the other teams in the league. Because as we know, there are a lot of people looking at strengthening their squad, and with the transfer window coming up, that might be of interest to some people to see what's on the list. If you're looking at players outside of the list of people already identified in the draft and all these things. First
The
up,
unknowns.
the great unknowns. We have sent out scouts. The league has sent out proper in-game scouts as well. So I'll keep you updated as more news comes in of talents found around the globe. But this is the first batch of them anyway. Um, Talking about transfers, hopefully the transfer window in the summer will be extended, and there will certainly be more non-Super League players allowed. Super League transfers yet to be decided, but we'll get back to that. Let's start by having a look at the league table and the results. So the results fell in a way that Val and United are now sitting comfortably at the top of the pile. But we've got two teams who are on the up, who are in the studio. So Chris, if we can start with you, if we look at your form curve, the last 2 or 3 games, things have been going really well for you.
Yeah, big thing was the away win as well, because I just had that fear that it would, like you said a couple of weeks ago, sort of 2 steps forward, 2 steps back, that we'd get a good result at home and then we'd go away and get a poor result, and you need a bit of consistency to try and get up table. So yeah, I'm happy with that. I think it was the last 4 results without a defeat, which is in this league is a good run for any side.
Definitely, and Astor, who, to be fair, aren't in the best of form at the moment, but still a strong opponent, and but you did well. It seems like your Spanish duo up front are really starting to hit top form now, Morientes and Tristan.
Yeah, 7 apiece for them now, and that's what you need. You need players you can sort of look for goals. You can, because we weren't brilliant really against Alf. Few not so good ratings, and it was a fairly even game, really. We just had that bloke up front who got a couple of chances and stuck them away. And you'll get 3 points when maybe you don't quite deserve them when you've got players like that.
Yeah, I mean, only 2 shots on target, both of them went in, so a little bit of a thanks to Bartes maybe for not having the best of games either. I mean, that helped you a little bit, but still, 2 goals, a 2-goal victory against Aston Athletic is it's not the worst, and as we said, it leaves you fourth in the table. You mentioned that that you had a good result away there, 5-2 against the Hornets. That's an important win for you. I think it was the first home win of the season, or first away win of the season for you.
Yeah, first one, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's definitely looking rather positive at the moment. You've got Churchtown up next, and then Parma, BTEC. Yeah, there's a few good games coming up for you, but nice to have another home game, I'm sure, next week.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, if we're looking at Churchtown, they beat Panathinaikos. As you're playing them, maybe you can give us your view on that one as well. I mean, that's a second defeat in a row for Parma. He lost at Bolton the week before. How do you see Kieran's side?
He's got a good side there. I mean, they started off really solid at the back, and they've had a few dodgy results. But I'm sure he'll be happy to see Oliver Kahn and Maldini and Chiram there. You know, big ratings for them
Yeah,
on
the core.
Sunday.
Yeah, that core he's got there, and Barry Ferguson is back for him as well. Yeah, I think he got the late winner or the relatively late winner, didn't he, against Parma? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean the thing. I mean Ferguson's fantastic player, really is. But I think it was more the fact that it was Cahill who was playing instead of him, and
Mm.
that's a massive difference. You know, had he have had, for example, if he'd have still had Davids who's injured, they could have maybe juggled that midfield about, but he lost both at the same time, and yeah, I think Tim Cahill is in the same league, so
No, but probably not
not
the.
maybe so much. Yeah, not so much that he missed Ferguson in that he sort of had to put up with Cahill. I think.
That's
But
probably
maybe,
probably a bigger problem. That's probably a fair point. But anyway, we'll be looking forward to seeing what Churchtown can bring up against you next weekend. Um, Ryan, if we move on to you, that was a bit of a tricky one after a good run you'd been on recently. This was a 2-2 away to Dragons, perhaps not what you'd hoped for.
Um, no. I think I said before we kind of go into every game hoping to get the win. Um, yeah, I said we were definitely quite lucky against Parma. We didn't play well there. We didn't play well again against Dragons. So yeah, to get 4 points out of 2 games where we didn't really perform, I'm over the moon with really. Um, he just kind of the red card definitely didn't help, and Zenoni getting the 4. Um, but yeah, it's not really what you want from your midfielders. But
Mm,
yeah, I
no.
can't say I'll take my point, take my medicine, and move on from that really because.
Yeah. And perhaps lucky with the late disallowed goal from Robbie Keane as well. But
Well,
maybe.
disallowed is disallowed. I don't think
eh,
it's kind of putting the rules there, Martin. You can't really.
That's a fair point. Thierry Henry coming on, scoring a goal. I mean, that's been kind of the story of the season for you so far. If we're talking about your strikers, is that they either start, score one, and do nothing, or that they come on and don't score or score one, and there's not really been that consistency up front. Are you hoping Montella is gonna bring that to the club?
Yeah, definitely. I, I don't know what it's like for other people, but on all my home serves, he's definitely a candidate, if not winner of World Player of the Year, European Golden Boot first couple of seasons. I've had him in my what do you call it on on my home serves as a player, and he's always done the business. Yeah, and I've the kind of things that some players work in the Super League, some players don't. I know that Van Nistelrooy sometimes gets a bad rap, who one of the best players on the game at home, but then in the Super League, he's never really done it. I think it's just a matter of how you play these people.
Mm,
I'm pretty confident that if I you mean get a good run of form together for the team, then Montella will start bagging the goals in. I think if Montella was in a top 6 Super League team, he'd have had 9 or 10 by now.
mm.
So it's the fact that Dragon Destroyer is struggling is probably the reason that Montella is struggling.
Yeah. I mean, let's say, I think Fifey has a question. A question for the panel. This is a transfer special. What one position do they feel each team needs to improve? So we'll maybe do that when we look at the fixtures for next week. We can do that at the end and see who needs what exactly. So that's actually a good talking point. Um, anyway, Bolton, you are where are you? You are here. Oh, let's have a look. You are next up. You have a trip to Brazil to face the Hooligans. So that's going to be a relatively tough one. And then you have perhaps on paper the easiest game of the season after that at home to Midlothian, who can't really get a lot of joy away from home. But the Hooligans beat the Hoddesdon 4-3. Hooligans very very strong attacking side. Do you feel confident that you said you were confident, or at least hoping to get a win in every game? How's your confidence levels for the Hooligans encounter?
I think you look at certain teams. I think Valen are one of them. Hooligans are another. Probably Ardsley are another, where you think you don't really fancy the away game. At home, you feel like you could definitely do some damage, but away from home, it's definitely a lot more tricky. I think you know my setup. I think most people now who watch the show know my setup. I'm not going to change it too much. I'm going to be. I know you don't show team instructions, but it'll be attacking, full press, and that's what I'll be going for. Yeah, I can definitely score goals. It depends if I can stop Ronaldo or Ronaldinho from scoring at the other end, then I've got a chance.
A strong defensive.
If I get a strong defensive display, which is what has been really what's catapulted me up the league in terms of I had 3 clean sheets on the bounce.
3 clean sheets in a row. That's true. Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably what was the main change from the start of the season, where I was losing games by the odd goal, gone to winning games by the odd goal by the defensive display. So away at Hools, if I can keep it to conceding 1, then I've got a good chance of winning. But if I concede 3, then
it's going to be a tricky one. Yeah.
It's going to be a big ask.
Well, I mean, obviously the league wishes all our managers good luck with their games and their travels, especially. I mean, we talked about not getting a lot of away wins at the beginning of the season, and there certainly wasn't a lot of away wins this weekend out either. But they're talking about their home and away wins. One of the teams in the Super League, Chris, really stand out when it comes to home performances so far, and that's been Midlothian, and Sunday was no exception to that. 6-1 against the Cannons. What did you make of that?
Yeah, that's to be totally. I mean, if you would have listened to Boise, it was always on the cards. But no, it was a bit of a shock. Not a shock that they won, just in the fashion that they won. I mean, Tim he sort of pulled Westerveld out a bit, but that wasn't a goalkeeping mistake that cost them the points there. Midlothian were all over them from start to finish.
And he has an interesting tactic that he has as well for that. No one, I think, if you're looking at everyone else, there's to some extent there's someone else playing that tactic. If it's either of yourselves, or there's Alf and Thiago. Palmas is obviously a little bit out there, but he's always had these kind of like slightly quirky tactics. But Ian's tactic is very different to many of the other teams. With the Let's see if we can actually bring it up here. I mean, won't show the instructions obviously, but we'll bring up the tactic. There's not. It's kind of similar in some ways to maybe something that Parma does, but with so many people with such long arrows, strong defensive midfielder lined up. Is that something that more people will try, or is it 5 defensive central midfield? It's 5 defensive, not central, but 5 defensive midfielders. Is that something you've considered for your team, Chris, or are you quite happy with how things are going?
Yeah, no. To be fair, I wouldn't. It's not something I'd try. Definitely not something I'd try off my own back. But having seen it, and it works to an extent. I mean, the question is, how can it work at home and not away? That'd be the question I'd be asking. And what is it that doesn't work away? Is it the two arrows from Ramelau and Gattuso? Maybe try knock them off away from home. But to be fair, I mean, we lost 4 away from home, and then we got a very good win away from home, and we didn't do anything any different to the previous 4 defeats. So
yeah,
maybe Ian's sort of going to be not stubborn, if you like, but he's going to stick with what's working at home and hope that he can pick a result up. And maybe you just need to pick that one up, and it's a bit of a confidence issue. Then you can kick on from there. Or
yeah, maybe a bit like yourselves.
Yeah, my theory on it. Sorry, Aj, you carry on.
I was just going to say, until we've played away again, we don't really know whether we just got a little bit lucky against odds. Their goalkeeper had an absolute nightmare. And did we just get a bit lucky and we're going to be back to just getting beat away from home every week? So I think we got Parma is our next away game. Again, another side that's pretty strong at home, not so strong away. So yeah, I'm all right. Anthony, advice how to win away. I've done it. I've done it once, so it's not. I'm not
Well,
really.
to be
the man
fair,
to talk to.
there's not. It's only really, I mean, hooligans after. There's a few teams that have won twice away. Sorry, Ryan, what were you gonna add there?
I was just going to point out that Midlothian are really blessed defensively. I think they've got 5 really top quality central defenders, and I think as you can see from the home record, they've only conceded 2 goals, and I think it's just part and parcel of the game. When you go away from home, your defence isn't always as strong. So, like you see, the main difference I think is the amount of goals they've conceded at home and away. I think there's going forward, they've never really been that prolific apart from that last game, obviously against Chudley. So I think with the defenders they've got, conceding just 2 at home all season, I think that might be the kind of the key to the home form, which isn't really travelling with them.
Yeah. That the players just inherently play slightly better or have slightly more confidence when they play at home. I think Alf points out in the comments there that he's checked Roma on a home save that he has, and at home they have forward arrows on their players, and away they didn't. So maybe it's something for Ian to consider. But anyway, enough talk about the Midlothian and their performances. I mean, home there's no doubt about it. We'll see if they get some wins away. Quickly on the last 2 games, Sloths beaten Swindon. Sloths picking up a few points now. That's the second win of the season. A lot of high scorers there. Ryan, do you think Sloths can do even better than what they are at the moment, or is it still a little bit sort of hit and miss with what they come up with?
Well, they're much improved, and they've definitely got the attacking players. He's not really given Alessandro a chance, or D'Alessandro a chance so far this season. For me, I know I only play 1 centre forward, but if I had Vieri and Crespo, I'd definitely be playing 2.
There's an argument for that, definitely.
Yeah, I think he's going forward. I think he's fantastic, and I think he's probably got the players to be one of the best attacking sides in the league. Conversely, I've just been talking about Midlothian and how strong they are in defence. I don't think he's got the defenders to really launch his top 6 challenge. So he's definitely got some work to do in the transfer market. I don't know, he's got some deals pending. But yeah, I don't think they'll finish in the bottom 2. I think they'll definitely shift up a couple of positions. Maybe 8th or 9th might be where they end up. But yeah, if you can get Vieri and Crespo scoring, then who knows?
Yeah, and Swindon, who got their first win last week against Dragons, they were back on the receiving end, or back on the losing side here. Patrick Kluivert, and maybe a slightly better performance from him. Huntelaar scored again, but a long way to go, I guess, for the Devils still.
Not playing his best players, not playing them in the right positions is definitely an issue. I know Boyce here kind of chimed in over the weekend, but he's got some good players there, and if he doesn't play them, he doesn't play in the right position. I believe there's talk of him selling at least 1, if not 2, of Roberto Carlos Di Roberto. I mean, if you're not going to play them, get rid of them. But why aren't you playing them? That's the question.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's been some poor performances. I mean, I checked some of the performances for some of his players from early on in the season, and you can kind of see why he's not sticking with them. In the same way that some people, maybe question why Buffon's on the way out from Sloth, but he has been terrible. I mean, there's sometimes you just, you look at the averages, you look at the players, you look at the performances when they play in their actual preferred positions, and then if they haven't really performed, then maybe you're reluctant to pick them up again. There could be other reasons for them not performing in those positions, of course, but it's difficult, when you're at the bottom of the table, you're under pressure, you're trying different things. If they aren't working, then you try something else. We can say with Bolton, maybe you were not lucky, but clever to find a way out, because Bolton were off to a terrible start to the season, weren't they really? But you managed to turn that around in the last sort of like after game 6. It's been kind of an uphill trajectory ish for you guys. So that's one. And Ardsley to some extent the same, yeah, with very inconsistent, and now it seems to be a little better.
Well, Ryan took on the advice that he's just give Fife and he started playing his players in the right positions, didn't
Sambrata, Gary Neville.
he? Yeah.
Yeah, maybe.
That's it.
Well, I say if Martin, you're more than happy. I'm more than happy for you to do this on the game. But if you look at the wing back comparison between Gianluca Zambrotta and Gary Neville, on my home serve, it will give you an extra star on Gary Neville.
Well, we'll soon find out. You have given me permission. Yes, but an extra star. But look what it's. I mean, with the stuff you've got him doing, he gets one
It's not even
star
done.
on the wing back. But what you've got him doing in the team, yeah, is perhaps not so much a traditional wing back position. I don't know what his player instructions are, but I mean the sort of averages. I mean, he's not been bad, Gary Neville, but 10 game and 1 assist, and Sambrata has more, yeah. So
There's no question about attacking ability that Zambrotta's a
mhm,
much better player. It was probably my insistence really that I wanted to give Radoy a chance at centre half at the beginning of the
mhm.
season.
He's also got
I
brilliant
was
stats. He's got brilliant, I say brilliant. He's got quite decent stats to be fair, but I think that you've got a much better attacking wing back in Sambrota and a much better central defender in Gary Neville. He might be a brilliant, reasonably sort of defensive, not particularly creative, but very good wing back. But I think you can see you're getting much more from Sambrota assist wise, and Gary Neville is definitely shoring up the thing at the back. So it's worked out for you, to be fair.
it's fine margins though. 'Cause I know I've said this a few times, but I will go back and look at those earlier games of the season, and it wasn't as if we were getting hammered,
No,
and
no, no, it
it
wasn't.
was
It
it
wasn't
was
at all.
fine
You were
fine
creating a lot of
margins.
chances, but just not getting the result in the end. But you are now, and I mean, apart from last game, so it's upward trajectory for Bolton. Last one to look at is league leaders Valen United. A narrow one, I mean, convincing but narrow at the same time, I guess, against BTEC. Chris, are you surprised to see the Swedes at the top of the table?
Not now. No. I mean, it's like 8. Is it 8? 8 without defeat.
Yeah, I think so.
Something like. What I am surprised with is that they haven't lost in 8, and they're only 2 points clear. That surprised me.
Yeah, that's true.
Because teams around. I mean, who's second? Hull's won at the weekend, but I think they've not won in the last couple.
Hmm.
Odds have lost the last couple.
It's
And
very
yet they
tight,
still
isn't
only
it?
got. Yeah, it's still very tight. I'm not knocking Valen; they've been brilliant. But if somebody would have said to me how many points have Valen clear, I would have said more than 2.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
it is a tight league, but yeah, they just. I mean, I think I say it every time I come in here. They're the best side we've played this season.
Mm.
We literally, it was just blue. The ticker thing was just blue.
Hmm.
We just couldn't get. We didn't seem to get the ball off them. Just like their football, we're keeping it.
Yeah, and
So
it's
yeah, I'm not surprised that they're top.
the top. They've got decent players as well. I mean, the squad itself is quite. Oh, I'm not. This is. It shows all the reserves when you're not actually, if you're not using that manager. I'll just pop in and show the squad here. Yeah, so I mean, they've got good players, haven't they? I mean, they've got Savio, they've got good folk up front, and they've been quite lucky with injuries as well. I think maybe they had like 1 or 2 injuries early on in the season, but Keane has played 11 games. We can actually sort
He was
by.
missing Shevchenko for a bit, I seem
That's
to remember.
true, but he hasn't done that well, has he? While he's been playing. Where's the games one? There's a games one, isn't there? Games played. Is that
Just
not one of them?
selection. You
If
go
you go
into
on view,
view selection.
Ah,
You go into
true.
the view there, then selection, and then just put appearances, and then
Yeah. Yeah,
so he's had his
so
4 very good
Cafu,
yeah,
players.
Cafu, Rio Ferdinand, Roy Keane, Francesco Totti has played all 11 games, yeah, with quite high averages as well. So there's definitely something to be said for that.
The
Um,
4 of the top players on the game. I mean,
yeah,
no
uh,
questions there.
and they've played all 11 games for him, so that's always that's always going to help, isn't it? Um,
I think
mhm.
also what stands out is the defence. I mean, they've conceded 9 goals.
9 goals in
Some
11
going
games.
to have conceded only 9 is some going.
It's only Kieran who's I think who's close to that. Let's have a look. Yeah, well, Bolton as well. Yeah, your 3 clean sheets there, Ryan. Did well with that. Dragons are not conceding that many either. 16 is not a lot for a team down there. But yeah, Kieran, and I think did he not have one relatively big defeat? Yeah, the
He
3
got
3
beat
0
3
and
0
3
by me.
3.
And
Yeah.
Fife, he got 3 against him, didn't he?
Yeah. So
It's pretty
that's
hard.
6. So that's 6 and 2. If you take away them, then he's conceded 6 and 9 apart from that. So that's also kind of a reasonable defensive display. But yeah, I mean not a free scoring team really, Valen United, but certainly I would say so far perhaps deserved leaders.
Yeah, I
definitely.
think so. Yeah.
hmm Yeah,
We're
very
getting to nearly
interesting.
halfway now, so
Yeah.
I think when you get to halfway through the season, people are generally where you've got a fair idea where people might end up. So,
Yeah, I mean, you could say the only thing that might be a little bit tricky to gauge is the amount of points that you're going to need for the top 6, with the third and what is it 10th being separated by 2 points. So we can maybe 40 points will be enough. But if it continues to be this tight, I mean, if teams are getting almost 2 points a game average, then you're probably looking at 41, 42 to be absolutely certain of a top 6. At the moment, it's what 0.7 or something like that. It could be more than 40 points that you would need if teams keep up this kind of like sharing the spoils really of the games. So yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what the second half of the season brings with regards to promotion candidates and who will last, who will be kind of the sort of the Carlos, what's his not Carlos Puyol, he's called Charles or something funny anyway. Put the Puyol of the Super League, who can diesel away and just get into that top 6. I presume you've both got top 6 ambitions.
Yeah.
gosh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean,
I think everyone in the league should have, to be fair, from the off.
hmm
I mean, you look down the bottom, Fife is not getting any better, but Rob, they're getting better week on week, and he's got to be looking at that now and thinking if we can put a few wins together, we've got half a chance.
hmm Yeah, if you can get
I think
a good second half of the season, it's possible.
I look at that top 6 and I don't think the top 2 will be anywhere but the top 6 at the end of the season. But I mean, Hods, Panathinaikos, Midlothian. I think they're not teams that I would have put in the top 6 from the
Mm.
start of the season. So their managers are doing well,
hmm And
and
if you see
it's
the
so therefore the way I look at it then is that if I put out my best 11 playing the best, then they can catch those 3 teams. That's the way I look at it. I mean, I know I'm not going to blow smoke up Hodges' ass, but I think everyone might know pre-season I put one of them as one of the title favourites. Now they had a bit of a slow start, but I can't see them dropping out now.
mm,
Couple more wins, and then they'll be sound in top 6.
yeah, but it can
But
change quickly. I mean, we had Astor, after what round 7 they were flying top of the table, and now they're in 7th. Kieran did really well at the beginning after 5-6 games, but that's been downwards for him as well. So you can with such few points in it at the top, you only need 2 or 3 poor results, and then you're in the same way that you say 2 or 3 results can catapult you into the top 6. If you lose 3 on the spin, then you're down with the teams below the line as well. So it'll be interesting in the second half of the season. Um, quick look maybe at the fixtures already, or should we have a look at the transfer people? I don't know. What do you think, guys? We're 28 minutes in.
no, we can have a quick look. I reckon you got Ardsley, Celtic, Churchdown massive on current form, home win.
I guess you,
BTEC
yeah.
BTEC should be beating Swindon. Panathinaikos on poor form. I think Jamie will take him there. Tiago's got to be favourite against me, although I'll do my best. You could even be on here, in my opinion, for 7 home wins. That's what I'm going to say about the fixtures.
What do you reckon, Chris? 7 home
Oh,
wins.
Over 7 away wins, yeah. No, I would possibly be looking at Hodge to beat Valen.
It's possible.
Because I
No
think
chance.
the run will come to an end the run will come to an end, and it could be against Oddison, who just seemed to just play without giving a toss and just throw everything at him.
I mean, if Alan's going to get beat, it's not going to be by Freddie Youngberg, in my opinion. It's just.
Yeah, I mean,
know,
it'll be.
it's
It's a tricky one, isn't it? It's a tricky one, isn't it? I mean, he's got to like not concede. What did he concede in the last couple of games? 9 or something like that. 9 in the last 2, yeah. After hardly conceding. I mean, he tried some kind of experimental tactic in the beginning, which went terribly wrong. Then he stuck with the same tactic for about 7 or 8 games. It's gone really well. Hardly conceded any goals. And then in the last 2, he has not really changed much. A little bit personnel-wise, but nothing really. And then he's conceded 9 in the last 2. So he's got to stop that before anything. Oh, you can see there. Yeah, while everyone else is enjoying their winter break, Hornets are traveling around the southern oceans in the in the Oceanian Champions Cup. So that's something for them to look forward to, obviously.
Are you
Tonga, Solomon, Kiwi.
You're going to play his reserves in that one, or what's your plan for that?
No, I'm gonna go all in. Gonna see if I can get Batistuta some goals. No, I'll try my best to not get any of his players injured in those games. I think even with the reserves and everyone on easy tackling, he should have probably have enough to beat Laugu United and Loto Pai and Kiwi even. So yeah, all good, all good for Hardison.
Just out of interest, did he have Lucio back against Hooligans?
Good question. Yeah, he played. He played.
Yeah, so he didn't play against us, and that at that point we'd not won away from home, and I didn't want to sort of big myself up. But when I saw he was out, and I saw his other centre halves, I really fancied it, and I just wondered if he'd maybe been suspended for 2 games. But
yeah, no, they both came back. Southgate and Lucio were both back, and both had a relatively poor game. But again, the keeper, yeah, a 5. I mean, 7 shots, 4 goals. It's maybe not so bad, but still a 5. You're never going to be happy, are you, with your keeper getting a 5? So. But yeah, any of the other games that stand out for you, Chris, or do you think any surprises, possible surprises?
B-Tech Swindon's a big one. Because
Yeah,
I think Ian's sort of going to find out if he really is shit, or if, you know, because they've had some.
Or if there's light at the end of the tunnel.
You know, I think that he's sort of going to see where he's at when he's played Swindon. Because no offense to Swindon, but any away game's tough for any side. So, you know, going away to B-Tech, I think he might maybe just find out where this B-Tech side stands a little bit after that one. Big game for him. I mean, for me, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but Fifey's just got 3 hits now, hasn't he? You got nearly halfway through. You got 4 points, and you're letting goals in for fun. Just go out, try stuff, have 3 hits. Play with Lekiog up front if he's good at heading, get ball in the box. Just try stuff.
Try something.
Whereas for B-Tech, you know, I mean, I picked him now definitely as sort of a top 3, top 4 side. So yeah, I think every week that goes on is it's a big game for him till he sort of starts getting a few wins together.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think. I mean, fair enough. Pizarro's been out for a while. He had 4 games and 3 goals. He's obviously a big loss. But Pizarro, Palermo, Inzaghi up front. He's got Danielson, Agahawa, Kalushny, plenty of defensive midfielders as well. Strong defenders. I mean, from my perspective, his goalkeepers are not good, all of them. I mean, they're not good. I know some people say Abiati can do a job or whatever. That's possible, but for me, they're not good enough. But the rest of the squad is top 6 easy, I think.
Yeah, the only thing I've noticed, just that having a little look now, maybe a bit of a soft touch. You know, players like Dyer, Prutton, even Lee Young Pure to an extent. You know, maybe a bit more steel in there. Yeah, it is a young side as well.
Dyer, I'm looking at Dyer, Kivu. Kivu's quite young, isn't he? And I think Danielson's quite young.
Yeah, I think they're all sort of, most of them. I mean, he's got 1, 2, 3. He's got 5 players over 25. The rest are all in the 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. That's maybe a good point actually. That there's a bit of experience maybe missing in that side. A bit of steel, like you say.
Is it if you play an home save to get a squad like that together, you're probably looking maybe like 4 or 5 or 6 seasons in which by that time they're all sort of 27, 28, and you've not got that problem, which I thought that about my side, to be fair. I put a side squad together. I thought, yeah, that's good. I think our average age is about 22, and I thought, Jesus, I might have miscalculated this. Like you say, you get these players together, but it's probably like 2007, 2008, whereas we're doing it straight from the off here.
Yeah, they need to be performing straight away. That's true. So, yeah, so an important game for BTEC definitely. Interesting to see if obviously Midlothian can continue their impressive run at home. They're gonna have to, considering their away form, and top of the table clash in Sweden. So yeah, it'll be interesting, definitely. Um, let's have a look at some of these players now. Transfer market. Well, actually, we can speak about your own transfer dealings first. How satisfied are you with the current scenario with what you've managed to do of deals so far? Anything? Is it a bit meh after the Edwards ruling and the scandal, or are you relatively happy with your signings? If you've
Um,
agreed any.
do you want me to start on this one?
Yeah, you go, Ryan.
Well, I think I was quite vocal enough about. I think I had done some pretty good deals before it all kind of got quashed. Um, however, I will say that I'm happy with the two deals I've done.
Hmm.
I know they're not happening anymore, so I can kind of speak about them. I had agreed a deal with Midlothian to get Harry Kuehl over in exchange for Alex. I've done the Wes Brown deal, which I've kind of redone again with Churchtown. I was very close to signing Deisler from Fife. And I've got Igor Biscan from Asta, who they might not be what you would class as world class first names on the sheet, but yeah, he is, and Alf won't play him. Alf won't play him for some reason, so I was kind of like, I felt I'd done some really, really good deals, but and then kind of in review, it was getting a little bit silly, and then so yeah, that's all gone down now. I've kind of kept the same deal with Kieran, because as you know, Igor Tudor is hated by my entire squad. So
That's true, actually. It's kind of there's a couple of players like it's interesting. There's a handful of players like that in the Super League who went out in the first like 2 or 3 weeks, and their agents went, "Oh, they're going to make a move to this club," and then all of the rest of the team just went dislikes Bartes, dislikes whatever. I can't remember if it's Bartes. Oh no, it's who is it for you?
Ferdinand's an issue, isn't it? I think
Yeah,
for me it's Igor Tudor.
for you, it's Igor Tudor. Ferdinand is an issue. He's there's even some. I think there's even 1 or 2 players that are. I mean, I can't reveal their identity, obviously, in case someone's going to try and get a cheap deal on them. But I think there's a couple of players that have that dreaded thing where the board doesn't believe they should be a member of the squad. Then it's a tough one. Yeah, what are you going to do with these guys? So, yeah.
So I'm quite happy with that deal to kind of get Wes Brown in, who I think he's maybe goes under the radar a little bit in the league. He's a solid defender. He's an extra option, and I've only got Hornshaw and Neville really as centre backs. Tudor wasn't really playing, so that's kind of a good deal. And then I know a lot of people think I'm a madman, but I'm pretty happy with getting Montella in. And I will say about it, because I'm getting rid of Fowler and Dalmat outside the league, non-Super League club, I don't think it's going to be that much of a net on Montella. So if I manage to recoup 20 million from the other two, it's only 6 million.
Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem. I think you'll easily clear what 12, 13 for one of them, and maybe 10 for the other. So it shouldn't be a problem.
Just looking at the comments, and
Alf is
Alf, you definitely
denying.
have this gun.
Alf is denying that he owns Igor Biscan. I don't.
He played centre half against.
I was going to say he definitely played.
Alf's been on the whiskey, I tell you that.
or maybe he meant played at Midlothian. I don't know. Maybe that's what he means.
He plays this week. I think that's what he means. Yes.
Right. Ah, okay. Yeah. I think it's us being, yeah, it's us being silly. Either way, Hachi, you've not done that much transfery, have you?
No, just 1 in, 1 out so far.
Yeah.
Nicky Butt's gone. Who? Yeah, he's a decent player. He's gone to Panathinaikos, which sort of makes sense, seeing as we play 1 DMC and he plays 5, 3 central ones. And we've brought in Isaac Okoronkwo. centre half. Just
He
basically,
plays all across, doesn't he?
he's left. Is he left-footed? I think.
I thought
Left-footed centre half.
something interesting about him. Where is he? Yeah. So I mean, he's good. He's good.
Yeah, he's RLT. Yeah.
He's either foot and 86. He's disappeared from the ratings because he's only played 3 games. But where did it go again? There's a passing percentage somewhere in here. He was yeah, so it wasn't because he'd only played 3 games, so he doesn't count in the stats. But he's at 86% in pass completion, so one of the most solid passes of the ball at the back there. So that's probably a decent signing that you've got.
Yeah, just one too sure about Woodgate at this level. And obviously, I've seen you can lose 2 centre halves in one game, and you're a bit short stacked. So it just made sense really to sort of get rid of a DMC who probably won't want to play too much, and bring in a centre half who probably will start. I think just got to decide which one he starts with.
Yeah. Well, you can maybe see if you get a relatively easy home game and start him and see how he does. I mean, I know that maybe not be a true representation of how he's going to do in the big games, but worth having a look. So it sounds like a decent deal. And as mentioned, obviously we'll try and open up the window in the summer a little bit more to deals. I was just interested to see how people would get on for the first season with a relatively sort of similar score to what they started with. But good to hear that you both managed to do a little bit of wheeler dealing already, and let's dive into having a look at these players. So with the caveat, obviously, that if anyone who's expecting that I'm just going to bring up 15 players that are going to have like 20s all over the shop, that's not the case. I'm also not going to bring up players that are already on people's shortlist. So we're not going to look. We can look at Albertini if you want, but he's got like 9 Super League clubs looking at him already. There's only 2 or 3 decent central midfielders left outside the league, so good luck if if anyone fancies a bidding war in any of them. They are also not on the list of however many it was. I think there's 120 identified players that didn't make the Super League, so they're not on that list either. Those players are available on the Excel sheet that's saved. I think there's a tab in that called, I can't remember, something players not in the league or something like that. So they're not on there. So these are just players that I've had a look around, I've found, and some of them look pretty decent actually. And obviously you're welcome to agree or disagree, but I'll bring them up one after one, and then I'll get your comments on what you think about them. So for the first. I want to see if I can spell this. Some of them are a little bit. So some of them you won't have heard of, and some of them you might have. So first up, we have the current South Korean international keeper. His stats are pretty good for in the keeper area. He's got good average. He's in international, so his agility, anticipation, balance, bravery, jumping, position, reflexes, all of that you look at in a keeper is pretty decent. He's valued at 1 million, and he's sure he'll soon move to a bigger club. Chris, can you see this guy going to the Super League as a backup keeper or something like that, or is it not really for you?
Yeah, he don't look bad. I think I'd take him over Stephen Bywater. I think. What I would say is that I think goalkeeper is probably the strongest position represented outside of the Super League. I think there's some good goalkeepers knocking about outside of the league. So whether I'd go for him over some of the other ones knocking about, I'm not so sure. But yeah, he's definitely got numbers in the right places.
I mean, there's people like Rab Douglas, I think, and others that have already been identified as very promising keepers outside the league, of course. But I just thought it
Barcelona
would
keeper
be,
as well.
yeah,
Onana, is it?
yeah.
He's still out there.
I think he's still out there. There's a couple of German ones as well. There's plenty of decent ones. So it's just a bit of a curveball, really, on the keeper position. What do you make of this guy, Ryan? Have you ever signed him in your home
I've
save?
never. I'll be honest with you. I don't recognise the name, so I've never been managing South Korea. So, it's similar to me. He'd probably be a third choice for me. I've got Andreas Isaacson, who's a bit of a champ legend, who I'm happy to keep as my third choice and sit there and twiddle his thumbs kind of thing. But yeah, if I was struggling, then he might be someone I'd look to, but he definitely wouldn't be a starter.
No, I wouldn't expect so. Someone who might, if you're playing the long game, and maybe someone has heard of this guy, Nick Rimando. Does that ring a bell for any of you guys?
Nick Rimando.
Nick Rimando.
Oh,
Look at this. Huh? That's not bad stats for a keeper. 22 years old.
right, yeah, he's actually all right. Yeah,
Who's rated
Alf needs to get off CM Scout. Come on, Alf. Come on.
72 and CM Scout? Is that terrible? I presume so. I don't know what the maximum is. Young keeper prospect. If you've got an older guy and you may be looking to replace with a young sort of second or third keeper, Nick Rimando, you could do worse, couldn't you?
He's not bad. He's not bad.
No, I think the other bloke's bravery was 19, which I think is always impressive for a keeper.
Hmm.
This guy's only down at 14. So I would go for the older fella.
You'd go for the
Yeah.
older fella. That's
Yeah.
apparently a couple of people have actually owned Rimando before. Both Ian and is that Colin? Is that half and half? The Switch 31415. Yeah. So apparently some people have owned him before. Again, I mean the good thing about this is that he doesn't like his current contract. He wants away. He's 650,000. So if anyone is looking for a cheap third choice keeper, then he's someone to perhaps keep an eye out for. Not the easiest to find good unknown keepers, I will I will say, but yeah, absolutely an option.
Okay. It's
If
not Colin. Apparently, it's just a viewer. Hi, Switch 31415.
right, okay. If we
I
if
would say if
oh
it was
sorry,
Colin, he wouldn't have known that he was a keeper. But he
fair
thought
point.
Cousins was a centre forward, didn't he? So yeah, I didn't think it was Colin.
Right, fair enough. Let's have a look at the next one. So this one is a little bit more of a well-known one, but I thought it would be worth including him just because I like him personally. A young Taribo West style player, Boubacar Diarra from Mali. Good stats. He can play that defender, left side. Probably half decent as a fullback as well. Any of you guys owned him before, or used to buy him, or anything like that?
I like him a few times. Yeah.
I've never had him, but literally, on a save I'm playing on now, I tried to get him for Blackburn, and he went to Dortmund, and he's just stayed there, and he's become brilliant.
He's
Yeah.
he's
Go on,
promising.
sorry.
Maybe not the best right now, but I would say maybe in 2 seasons, 3 seasons, his stats are usually pretty. I mean, again, terrible on CM Scout, obviously, but but I'll leave that to Alf. Do you think he could do a job in the Super League for some of the clubs that are struggling for decent defenders, or is it a step too far for him at 22?
I think at 22, it might be again a little bit of a step too far. Depends what you've got there at the minute. I mean, I'd probably rate him higher at the moment than Ifeanyi Daisy, who I've got in my reserves. But yeah, I think I don't know if any clubs are that short of a starting centre back. I'm trying to think about teams who are conceding lots of goals, but even Fifey's got West and Mendes.
Ehiog, hasn't he as well?
Ekiyogo, I
Yeah,
think he's probably slightly ahead of this guy.
yeah.
I
Oh,
think
well.
if you're a team at the lower half of the Premier League, just promoted from the Division 1 on the game, this guy does a job for you. That's where I've had him, kind of thing. Just got promoted to the Premiership.
Mm-hmm.
When you want to start getting into Europe and winning things, and obviously that's the kind of level we're aiming for at the Super League, then I don't think he's that level.
Right, fair point. Moving on, this guy I'd never heard of before, so let's see. Does this ring a bell to either of you? Igor Dulyai. He's a right-sided, so he's a right wing back. So maybe stats-wise a little bit better than some of the others that we've seen here before. Very good pace and acceleration. Can score a few goals as well, international goals. High work rate, good teamwork. If you're looking for someone to go down the right wing, if you haven't got Cafu or some of the bigger names, I think this guy's a decent shout. What do you think, Chris? Looks okay to you?
Yeah, he looks pretty decent actually. He's like you say, he's got all the stats that you want for the position that he's playing in, and then pretty decent sort of average runs everywhere else. His teamwork, his pace, his agility, his acceleration. Yeah, I like the look of him.
15 for marking, 14 for positioning, can do a job defensively as well. Apparently 71 on CM Scout. I'll ask Alf after which one has the highest rating on, on CM Scout as the ones we've shown.
What's a good rating on CM Scout?
I don't know. I don't know, to be
Alf,
honest. Alf, what's a
Alf,
good
what does it
rating?
go to?
If it goes up to 73, he's a genius. Needs better crossing. Okay, 5 feet. It's not Danny Mills, I know, but 11 crossing. Come on, give the guy a break.
I'd take
Alf,
him over Giuseppe Pancaro, who he's been playing there.
That's
yeah.
that's a very good point, actually. Yeah, half decent. So glad I found someone that had a little bit of interest. 1.4 million. He also wants a new contract. So I have tried. I mean, these players are players that you will have a very realistic chance of picking up quite easily. That's another reason why I don't show like Takinadi and people who are delighted to play for their club, and Bergkamp, whose contract is expiring but is refusing to move to Oceania. There's a bunch of people I could have picked that we didn't look at, where I think, yeah, there's probably not a huge chance of grabbing him.
I think the Burkamp thing is it'll take him a long time to get there by boat, won't it?
Yeah, it doesn't fly, does he? Doesn't fly. Doesn't like that. So, anyway, this one would be a good for someone who needs a right back. Keeping him in mind. I mean, he's definitely out there, definitely available, and I think a promising. 22 years old as well. I don't know what his potential is, but he could be. He could be one for the future as well as being actually quite decent, either as a backup or even as a starter if you're playing Pancaro already in the league. So I'm going to put a tick next to him and say that wasn't a bad one. The next one is definitely not a bad one, but you probably know him. You definitely know his brother if you've been playing this game for a while. Um, so there's two of these guys. I mean, the top one is obviously like a well-known Chapman legend, very young at the start of the game, but develops into something fantastic. This guy, I'm not sure why he's not in the Super League. I didn't see him on the shortlist or anything. Surely you must have had this guy before, some of you, or know of him at least.
He's a defender
Yeah,
with
I've
marking
been
10.
Monaco.
Sorry?
So he's a defender with marking and tackling of 10. I mean, why would we know this guy?
Good centre
I'll
halves don't tackle. If you have to make a tackle as a centre half, you've already made a mistake.
If
Alf
you
will tell you that.
and Paolo Maldini and Franco Baresi and all of these people. I mean, you could play him on the wings, I guess. I mean, I just thought he had half decent stats. You're right, as a central defender, he might not be the best, but as a wing back or as a full back, I guess many of you guys don't really play with you play more with wing backs than actual fullbacks. But utility defender, is he that much worse than Okon or what the guy's name that Hodges just bought?
Oh yeah, he's a lot worse than him.
Is he? Yeah.
Yeah, I'd take him over Johnny Woodgate.
So 2.6 million is not something you'd consider for this Swedish chap.
I think the thing is with only the two transfers, I know, is that you probably wanted to get players who can impact your side now. And I think that's maybe his downfall is that he's 21, he's a little bit young, and yeah, he's going to get better. Whereas he's maybe more somebody to get in the summer when can maybe bring 4 players in, sort of. But I think the teams that some teams are maybe thinking, do I need to make any changes? And then the teams down the bottom are probably thinking, I need to make changes that are going to impact us now.
Yeah.
And I think that's maybe where he sort of misses out a little bit. But yeah, he's same again. His determination, bravery. There's definitely pace. There's definitely stuff in there that stands out for a centre half.
Yeah. Ryan, not impressed. You're gonna hate the next one. If you didn't like this one, you're gonna hate the next guy.
He just might. I look as soon as I say defender, I look at the stats: positioning, marking,
Tackling.
tackling.
Yeah. I get where you're coming from.
Three I go to, and you mean I wouldn't sign him. I mean, my filters when you go on the player search. I mean, I'm looking for 15 tackling and marking, no matter where I am, really.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not no matter where I am, but then, but yeah.
Yeah, no, fair point. Well, you're going to hate Boris then. You probably know him as well from Oviedo. So he's got 14 marking but 10 tackling. So you might not be that impressed with him. He usually develops into something quite special. Left-footed as well. Already very high average playing for Oviedo. There's a lot of like 12s and 13s and 14s and stuff on his stats. But so maybe again one for the future. But again, and as someone that you've had before, or someone that you've discounted already?
Me, I've had him before. I think I was maybe Sociedad, and I signed him. Had him, yeah. So like young Spanish defender. I think I had him. He played a couple of seasons for me. He's a good player. He does get a lot better as well.
That's what I was
So
thinking.
I do quite like him. Be interesting if Alf says he's a. No, he says he's a 55 on TM Scout, whatever like that. But no, for me, he's done a good job. Again, I don't think he's a world beater, record breaker, but he's a solid one. And yeah,
Okay.
if you are building for the future, he's definitely someone.
We'll get to slightly
Yeah,
older when we get to the more offensive players. So as you can see, these are more the defensive guys, and we've got another 3 or 4 of them to go, and then we get to the attackers. There's a few older guys in there that we managed to find, but as I said, a lot of it has been hoovered up. So we'll see what else we can come up with. Hodgie, anything to add to Boris, or should we skip to the next one?
Yeah, well, he's got a good average rating. That stands out. That's standing out. So
Yes,
he's doing right. He's doing right where he's playing. Yeah. I'd go for
anyone.
the other bloke before. The
Right.
last centre half,
Farnerud, yeah.
I'd pick it, go for him over Boris.
Left-footed though, I mean, does it matter for you guys when you're looking at defenders? Do you look at what foot they prefer, either left or right, or do you not really?
I do to an extent, in that if I had a left and a right, I would put the left on the left and the right on the right. But on that sort of thing, I wouldn't. I'm not anal with it in that I have to have a left footer playing at left centre half.
Fair
Just
enough.
I wouldn't play him on the right if he was left footed, unless I only had a couple of left footers. You're forced into it.
Yeah. What do you think, Ryan? Same for you, or do you not care?
exactly the same.
Yeah.
Exactly the same. Yeah. I mean, I've got Veron and Alex in centre midfield. I'll play Alex on the left hand side because he's left-footed. That's you mean. But if I had 2 right footers, I wouldn't care too much. But yeah.
Fair point. Next guy. So next guy apparently is not good. I don't know why, because I've had him a number of times and he's always played well for me. And you probably know him as well because he's not famous. Where is he here? So the Ecuadorian captain. Much experience with Ivan Hurtado? As a guy you've signed before? I mean, his stats are good. I mean, please don't argue with his stats. You can argue with everything else about him, but don't argue with his stats. They are half decent, aren't they? What do you think, Ryan?
Oh, he's one of my legends on my a Lee RMI save I did. We did a challenge with me and a few friends maybe a year or so back where we took Lee RMI to them from the conference to the Premiership without spending anything. Only could sign off freebies. Managed to get him on a free. I think I was in Division 1, and he stayed with me for about 6 seasons. Was club captain. I think so. He played till he was 35. I think in the Premier League. Yeah, I'm a big fan. He's a solid player. I'm surprised he's not in the Super League actually.
He wasn't even changed to. We didn't even change him to Australian, so I don't know if he was just kind of left off the radar. He does say he's happy to stay at the club, but he's only 900,000, so you could probably tempt him away. What do you think, Hodgie? Someone who could. I think if some of the other ones have been more for the future, I think this guy could go into the starting 11 for at least a couple of Super League teams. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's not going to get any better, is he? That's the finished article now. So, yeah, he's pretty decent. Again, strength, stamina, pace. Yeah, I like the look of him. You say, I think there's 1 or 2 centre halves in the league who I don't really know how they're there, and I think he's maybe one of the centre halves, like you say, you wonder how he's not there.
Yeah, he could have at least been part of the squad package kind of scenario. So yeah,
There's a bit of a pattern emerging, but I'd have him over Johnny Woodgate.
Well, I'm wondering if you'd have the next guy over Johnny Woodgate. I think we've got 2 defensive midfielders coming up now, and then we're moving into a couple of attackers as well. They're obviously tricky to find and ones that anyone would be interested in, but we'll see as we move along. So a decent one, Hurtado as well, along with Dulage that we had up earlier. Next one.
Yeah. Sorry, man. I should pick up on something that Hodgie said then. He said that basically Hurtado is the finished article. I don't necessarily agree with that. I mean, he's playing at La Piedad, and I don't know what I'll guess at La Piedad. If you look at the facilities, they'll be abysmal or something like that. If
No,
you
need investment. Come on.
need investment or something,
Yeah.
but from what if you bring someone to the Super League, from what I believe, everyone's got top quality facilities, top quality things, and they'll add a couple of stat points onto your players. I know that I've got Luis Figo. I'm going to use as an example, kind of thing. If you look at his stats when you start the game versus his stats after a season of playing him non-stop, they go up 2 or 3 percentage points, 2 or 3 points, kind of thing. His finishing goes up. I think it's 2 points versus. I remember because I was a bit confused a couple of weeks ago when you first clicked on Figo, and I was like, I was playing a game at the minute, and I had Figo in the team, and I looked at his stats, and his stats were like
Different.
comfortably a couple of points better, and I was like, it's a bit interesting kind of thing. So I think having a player playing week in, week out and being coached by top players, don't matter how old they are, the stats still go up. Obviously, that might not be the case at 33, 34, but it can definitely happen.
I was going to
Between
say
the ages of 27 and 29.
27 and a half, you'd hope that he could still improve on a couple of the stats. And you're absolutely right. You all have top facilities, and you all have a full contingent of highly rated assistant managers, coaches, physios, etc. So there should be possibly room for improvement for pretty much everyone, unless we're talking old guys. So yeah, it'll be interesting. The next guy, I have never heard of this person before, so I'll be impressed if you have. I can't even. There we go. Which one is it? This one. So Enkiso, perhaps another 27-year-old. Again with half decent stats on that defensive right mid center. There's a few people who. I mean, not a few people. Most of you guys play with a bunch of DMCs, DMRs, DMLs. That role is quite popular. He's not the fastest, I'll give you that. Acceleration 8, but apart from that, a decent prospect for someone who maybe is not interested in just a fullback, but maybe someone who can go in centrally as well, like Alf and these kind of narrow formations. Hotchie, what do you make of this guy? Paraguayan international.
Yeah, I mean, at 27, he's only going to get better if you bring him in. I would probably. I mean, I like that defensive midfielder, right centre. He can do for me there. He can play right back, centre mid, DMC, out wide right, and they're the players that are handy to have. Because sometimes you play in a formation that's working really well. You don't want to move away from it, and you're sort of forced into it because a couple of injuries, you've no ability to play there. So these guys that can sort of slot in anywhere, they're very handy to have.
Yeah, and with 16 flair, and I suppose he could do a job in midfield as well. 15 long shots going forward, strong, bunch of bravery. 18, he'll probably get into the box as well. So even if you play him in midfield, he might do a half decent job. What do you think, Ryan? Someone who's maybe not for you, but again, someone who could do a job in the Super League. Do you think?
Yeah, he looks like a solid player. I kind of agree with Switch on the chat there. His stats, to me, with the acceleration and crossing being relatively low, wouldn't really stand out to me as a right wing back or a right back, really. But I think definitely DMC, not a bad. He's got good balance there. Bravery. He's solid at tackling. Passing's not fantastic, but yeah. I think he's not definitely teams could definitely do a lot worse than him.
Good flair as well. Good flair and work rate. I mean, that's always. I mean, flair. I don't know how important it is, but apparently, if for the creative, for the attacking players, creativity, flair, and passing is hugely important. Creativity maybe not so much for a defensive midfielder, and passing 12 could perhaps be a little bit better, but 16 flair and combined with really good technique and his stamina, maybe a shout for someone who's desperate for someone in that position.
He's definitely a good all-rounder. You look at accelerations, his only outfield stat under 10.
Yeah.
So he's definitely a bit classed as a utility man kind of thing. And if you wanted someone for your bench, but come on and he can cover 6 or 7 positions, he's probably your man.
Yeah, and about and for $500,000 is not a bad deal either, I think, and he'd probably be delighted for a chance in the Super League. We've got one more defensive midfielder to have a look at quickly. I'm
I'd
not
probably
sure.
take this Enciso over Okoronkwo. I think you should do a little comparison there. Who's
And see who does best. Let's not burst anyone's bubble. No, we'll wait and see until he comes in. Yiri Yarosik.
Just needless, silly comments now.
Yarosik, someone that I've bought a couple of times as well when I've played in Central Europe. I think he's done a decent job in Italy as well. He doesn't have many 18s now. I don't think he has any 18, 19s, and 20s, but it's a 15, 16, 17s, pretty much all of it in his favor. Any experience with this guy? Again, a defensive midfielder, brought up mainly because there seem to be so many of them in the league that people enjoy. So I thought I'd put a few in. Any experience with this guy? I think he normally goes to Germany or something like that after a couple of seasons. 66 on CM Scout. He's terrible, apparently.
I think I've definitely got experience of him. It might have been a long time ago, and I say a long time ago where I've had him.
It was at Chelsea, wasn't it? Where we ended up at Chelsea in real life.
Very briefly, I think. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks all right. Another
squad
solid
player.
Yeah, and he's kind of a solid defensive centre midfielder kind of thing. That's what he is. I don't think he's going to start for anyone, but he's not. I mean,
not terrible.
I don't think we're going to get too many world beaters at least, but I think you've done well to find these players. Definitely, he's not going to.
He's half decent.
Yeah,
true.
Do a job.
We'll have a look at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 6 attacking players to have a look at as well. Trust me, these were the defensive players are not like super easy to find, but they're okay. Attacking players that aren't on short lists or in the 125 identified players outside of the club are already in the Super League. I mean, if you exclude the let's say 500 best players in Champman, then you're also excluding a hell of a lot of attacking players. So these you're gonna have to use your imagination with a couple of these. But
I was going to ask you actually. Know that list of players I sent you yesterday, Martin? Were they all on people's shortlists? Or
the list of players. Oh, the one your guesses.
Yeah, my guess is in the chat.
I don't think so. I don't think they are. I mean, I can't recall them what they were now. I just know they weren't on my list.
All right.
So. But
do I say if they're on someone's shortlist, then you can't put them up? Is that the rule?
That was my rule, yeah, because then it's kind of unfair, especially if there's only one person who's listed. But that's why I mentioned Albertini, because he's on like 5 or something, so it doesn't matter really. And he's already changed to Australia, and he's known, yeah. So there is that list of 120 known players that we've identified like together at the beginning of season that we're welcome to have a look at as well. I'll maybe post a screenshot of it for those people who have problems opening the Excel file, so you can have a look at that as well. For the attacking players, Ramon is the first one. The reason why I kind of found him or I brought him in is because of his flair and his set piece ability, and the fact that he, despite being 29, still have quite decent physical stats. There's definitely a few numbers that are a little bit lower than some of the players in the league, but I brought him on for the 20 set pieces because if we look at the actual league, I'm gonna have to go back now. If I'm going to have to go back to the league and see, where is it again? Goals from corners, for example. When you think about how many goals have been scored in the league already, there's only 3 from corners. What is it with these set pieces? Is it because you all have such good defenders, or why is it that so few goals are, in my opinion, are scored from set pieces? What do you have any idea? Or are you as baffled by the question as I was with looking at this? Hodgie, Chris, Chris, any idea? Do you look at set pieces when you're building your squad? Do you always make sure you have that one guy with like 19, 20?
Yeah, sort of try and get somebody in there. But no, to answer to your question, I don't really know why we're not seeing seen any goals from set pieces. It's a strange one. To be fair, it's not something that I'd really look at myself. Is where the goals have come from. As long as there's plenty of them coming, I think if your goals are drying up, you might start digging into where they're not coming from as such. But no, I'm not too sure why.
We've only got the Nielsen really with his 3 goals, I think, for BTEC. I think on direct free kicks. Ryan, who's your set piece takers? You've got from indirect free kicks. You're doing exceptionally well.
I think it's Veron, isn't it? You're more than welcome to
Yeah,
have
I think so. No, I think
is
it's
there a way of,
Veron.
I've got Figo as well. He's doing some bits. I'm not too sure. Yeah, Veron and Figo are the two, I believe. You actually. I think I just let the game choose though. When it comes, to, I don't have anyone set in the tactics kind of thing. I just let the game choose.
So you're not concerned about the fact that you haven't scored a single goal from a corner yet?
Not necessarily. Well, I'm one of 6 teams who
haven't
scored a goal from it. Yeah, I always make sure I've got someone with a 19 or a 20 on set pieces. The same with influence when it comes to having a captain kind of thing.
True.
I'm not really too concerned about having a team full of leaders or a team full of set piece takers, as long as I've got 1 or 2 who can do the job.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's kind of what I look for. I think in my team I've got Veron and Figo who can do that. I've got Raul and Neville, I think, who can captain. So
I think most just with the base stats of all the Super League players, I think everyone's pretty much covered for those positions. I just thought it would be an interesting player to bring up because if you feel that your team is missing like this kind of creative with his 16 passing, 18 flair, 20 set pieces, it's likely he has good corner taking abilities as well. He can dribble as well. I mean, it's a good attacking midfielder. So if anyone's got 3 million or something to spend on versatile attacking midfielder, it might be an option. I get the feeling that neither of you are in that desperate or or that keen on a 29-year-old Brazilian, but he's definitely there if anyone's looking at him. And 70 on CM Scout, so not too bad at all. Not one for you, Hodgie, I guess, Mr. Ramon.
Razor. No, not for me. I mean, where I'm quite lucky there. I've got Seedorf, Cole, and Riquelme. So yeah, not for me there.
And you're not overly worried about your team's goals from set pieces so far. That's not something. I guess if you're scoring goals, I was gonna say, I guess if you're scoring goals, you're not, thinking, oh, I wish I had another goal from a corner.
Yeah,
if you've already.
We scored 2 from corners, and Riquelme scored 1 against Midlothian. He's our set piece taker, and he's had a few weeks out injured, so maybe a few more games, and he could have got another one. But yeah, I think that's the thing is if you're scoring, you're not worrying where they're coming from. It's only when you're not scoring you sort of dig into that.
Yeah, so some of the low-scoring teams in the league might want to have a look at that. If anyone needs information about their clubs or performances or things, anything like that, obviously always just DM me and I'll see what I can do. It's not that it's a secret. It's just that unless you ask, I'm not going to sit and volunteer like hours of information because I know some of the managers, they do a bunch of stuff online, but when it comes to actually picking the team, they go and it also depends. Maybe if you're doing really well, you don't need to do a lot. You just go swap Tristan for whoever, like Hodgie. I mean, I know it's not because you're not interested and engaged. It's just because you don't have a lot of changes to do. So if there's other things that any of you want me to have a look at, then obviously just give me a shout and I'll be happy to compare players and to do other stuff if I have time for that.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a book with every team we've played, who played, what rating they got, who scored goals. So I've got stuff like that.
You've got your stats.
Yeah, I've got it all. It's just
you send a screenshot. You send us like your pack each week. I just save those down. Sorry, I was away for a second then.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, so I just keep hold of them kind of thing. Every now and then, I'll generally go and rewatch my game. I've watched it live on the Sunday, and then I'll generally rewatch it again midweek to kind of see anything else I can pick up on before I have a look and submit my team.
Yeah.
It's
all good, but as I said, if there's anything else that you need or want, then just give me a shout. Alf says I can mention Luis Enrique now, as he's decided not to go for him, but there's like 10 other people that probably want to buy Luis Enrique, Alf, so I can mention him, but Yeah, we'll see what happens with him. Anyway, 5 players left. I think 5 players left. 2 wingers and a couple of forwards. So we start by going for a quick trip to Mexico. Again, you might be put off by the lack of 20s and the sort of like general averageness of this player, but I think it's a decent shout if you play with that. There's not many of you that play with that kind of right-sided midfielder where I think this guy would do a good job.
Does anyone at the minute? I think I kind of I started off with it, and then I kind of got chastised into changing it. I think Sloth still might do.
Sloss
I think
have those wide midfielder. Damien Duff, player of the week, but what? Not this week, last week, wasn't it? He got a 10 and a goal. I think he was definitely in team of the week. Was it Damien Duff? Is that who it is? He's got in that.
Yeah, Damien Duff played well last 2 weeks.
Yeah,
I think Kieran as well. Kieran's been playing not as wingers, if you like, but he's playing a wide man, and obviously he's lost Ex-Maria, so
yeah,
he might be a little bit interested.
I think who else plays with an attacking player on the right hand side? Oh, it's Romedal for Cannons for Chutley.
Yeah.
Chutley plays with Romedal. I'd take this guy over Romedal, and I'm Danish. So I don't know if that's anything to go by, but I think he's half decent, and if anyone is looking for an attacking wide right player, I know it's not something that I normally sign in my own saves because I don't really use that position, but yeah, and left-footed, ideal for cutting in, and you see 15 long shots. This is what you need. This is the guy that you need for your team. He could turn it around for you.
I've had him on one of mine. I think I converted him to a right wing back. I think he's solid marking and tackling there. So I think, yeah, I've had him in. I think I've had him in a Premier League team as well. So he's he definitely could do a job.
25, and apparently my best pick so far, according to Alf, with a 72 rating, 2.4 million. You do have to pay a little bit for it because he's got that many caps and all that, but yeah, decent. Hachi, you're pretty well covered on down the right hand flank, aren't you?
Yeah, I think we got Zara that's playing there, and then Volodenkov can switch either side. So I think we're not too bad there. I think the biggest thing for me is you see, I can bring up loads of players to bring in. It's who to let go.
That's true.
That's my issue right now. I've got one transfer left, and I don't know if I'm going to use it. It seems like the goalkeeper issue that I had, Canizares has come in.
Yeah, and done well.
It's done really well. Yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah. Yeah, lack of attention to detail sometimes pays off. Very rare occasions, but yeah, that worked out okay. So, yeah, I mean, it's not for everyone, but as I said, Alf says he's 72, so a very good player so far, and I think he would do a good job, even on that wing back. I think he'd be half decent, as you say, Ryan, with his decent marking and positioning, and he's fast as well. So why not? I think we've got one midfielder left. He's well known. He used to play for Tottenham, I think. And again, I'm kind of surprised that no one picked him actually, because he's kind of young. His stats get a lot better than this in my experience, but he's already really like a decent player. Not good enough for the Super League.
Is that enough for the Super League?
Not fast enough.
Yeah, I like the player. I've had him before. But for me, I think that's the thing that lets him down is his pace and acceleration. Apart from that, he's a good solid player, similar to Zapata really. He's not got any 20s on. I think at 119 has he got?
Yeah,
but
I think so too.
Not a bad player at all. Not a bad player.
And good stats so far. It's something that I think that AMLC may be a little bit less. There's a few less of them. I think there's a couple of people asking for a player like this, which is why I included him, because he's also relatively cheap. I think. Yeah, 1.76 million. So there's a couple of people looking for a player for this position, and I just thought with decent shooting ability, quite good dribbling, decent crossing as well, 17 crossing and 15 creativity. It's also pretty good stats. Not living up to expectations on CM Scout. Again, Haji, you're kind of covered in this position, so I guess that's.
I've got two of them.
You've got Alex, haven't you? And
I've got Alex and Masera, who both
true.
AMLCs, yeah. Yeah, sorry, Haji, let you carry on.
No, yeah. Basically, just what I said before. Like, it's not a position position that I'm going to be looking for. But yeah, he could come in and do a job for somebody.
For those who are recruiting in that position. And now, just because I didn't want to leave him till the end, I'll put the guy up who kind of set this whole thing, who set the whole, the how do you spell this again? My Polish is terrible. The guy who set up this whole idea and made me decide to actually do this is that I stumbled across this guy. Um, what what do you think, Kochi? You think this is a guy who could do something in the Super League? I fully expect someone to snap him up. I will be honest.
Yeah, he's probably what Brozek becomes. It was a fair thing to say about him. His influence is good, strength, bravery. Seems to like maybe a bit of a target man. Sort of playing to his strengths. I probably wouldn't have him in an Alf type narrow formation, but if you're gonna be playing wing backs or wingers and getting balls into box, he looks like he'd do a decent job up top.
I mean,
I like the look of him.
very
He's a
quick.
unit, isn't he?
Yeah, I was gonna say fast, brave. He can pass a little bit, good flair, and then his obviously those right hand stats that not everyone, but that some people swear is the key to success. Yeah, if you have good stamina, strength, to some extent tackling, teamwork, technique work rate, yeah, it should be okay. I'd be interested.
Either footed as well. Which I always like in a player.
He's a solid player, definitely. He's probably one I'd play up front in a two. You think if you're playing two up top, you probably have someone with a 20 finishing, and then alongside him, because he'll win the ball, he'll hold it up. He's he said he's fast, strong.
So he can get
stick him in there with like a Jermaine Defoe.
A 79.4 on CM Scout, top class rated. It doesn't get much better than that, apparently. So no goals in his 5 international games, but you think so? I think someone's going to go for him. What do you think? What are the chances we'll see him in January in the league?
I reckon Fife will have him at left wing back.
Just behind.
That's what you said then. Like he's better than Brodzak, I think, at the minute. I definitely agree with that. I think.
Yeah, I mean, I did an in-game.
A few teams who would start for, let alone us be a squad player for.
Yeah, I did a couple of comparisons with some of the in-game. I mean, I know there's CM Scout, there's the in-game comparison. I know you can't count on all of these things really, but he definitely ranks higher than a good handful of starting players in the Super League. So it'll be interesting if there'll be a bid in war, if there'll be more than one team going for him. Someone who desperately needs a striker.
What's his market value there?
750k. So
750k. Not bad at all, eh?
Quite expensive for the Polish league, but in Super League terms, that's practically nothing. Yeah, that's small change. 2 more players left that we're going to have a look at quickly. The first one, I think, is like a kind of a championship manager, legendy kind of person. I was just wondering why no one had actually put him in. You know him? You know Ishmael Addo? Familiar with him? From Hearts of Oak?
I'm a big Hearts of Oak fan. I've actually got a Hearts of Oak top, which I've worn for a couple of my press conferences. No, I've had him on a few says. He's a good. If you're starting low in a non-EU league, he's a good player to bring in early on.
I was going to say
the Gabonese lad called Anchoué, who's very similar to him. I sometimes play him behind Addo and someone else up top. Yeah, he's a good solid youngster. Maybe not gonna cut it at the Super League, but he's I like him.
I mean, with 16 acceleration, he's got acceleration, he's got pace, he's got determination, finishing, flair. To be fair, at the moment, his stats are not far off some of the players that have like regular spots that some of the younger guys. I mean, I know Tigalco is something special with regard to the goals that he scores, but his stats aren't that far off some of the players that are starting. Again, it's probably for a long game. I just thought it would be a funny one to put in there in case anyone wants. There's the other guy that we mentioned, Talon Martin. I think Hodgie, you've got him in a save at the moment, yeah.
Yeah.
He's 16 in the game. I mean, I can't see his stats in full because I've got that silly fog of war thing on my attribute masking, so I can't really see his stats. But he's in the game as well. If anyone is interested, I mean, he was in the Sloths reserves. I found him last season when I played. I had him and played him I think 2 or 3 games at the end, but very young. He's 16, so probably not really.
I'd actually agreed to swap him with you. I don't know if you can remember. I was going to swap him with you for Simeone Inzaghi.
All right.
Before it all went under and restarted.
Right, I had no idea, but yeah, that's fair enough. I mean,
So
he
it's
had
all in my book. It's all in my book.
he had super stats definitely. So yeah, but that was 4 seasons in, I think. So different scenario.
Yeah.
Anyway, if he's too young for the Super League, maybe the last guy again, not the very best stats, but he's also young. Someone that I hadn't come across before, Best Rod. I think Artem Besrotny from Spartak Moscow. So 22, no 20s, but fairly decent stats all around. Apart from maybe his positioning, but he's playing regularly for Spartak. That's how he came up with 11 goals and 11 games and 7 goals. I basically sorted on who'd scored the most goals already in the other leagues. Decent one if anyone wants a punt at a young Russian. I mean, we know what the Eastern European players, especially Russian and Belarusian players, can develop into the game. Again, you guys are maybe not looking at strengthening that position, but someone that you've had before, or someone that you could see in maybe a season or two being a regular in the Super League.
Yeah, he looks a decent player. He's got age on his side, and he's scoring plenty of goals. And like you say, sometimes it's stats can be a little bit misleading, especially with the sort of the Eastern European players. Quite often you can sort of look at the stats and think, they don't look too great, and then you play him and they're great. So he would be someone, especially at 22, already in the Russia side. He'd be worth a look at. Whether he'd be starting right now, I'm not so sure, but yeah, he's not a bad player.
You're just thinking when you're looking at the stats. I mean, if you're looking at like a forward left role, putting him up with free run with ball, forward runs, run with ball with 18 acceleration. He's got 15 dribbling, 18 flair, good pace, 18 technique as well. Maybe he could come in and do a job. But
He'd,
yeah.
He'd probably go well in a partnership with a back fella.
Oh, with the big monster guy, yeah, possibly.
Yeah, they'd probably go well together.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Anyway, those are the people that I've come across on my travels so far. So I'll share obviously all the names, so you don't have to run through the whole show again. I'll share the names in the public forums of the guys that we've covered this evening. And as I mentioned, I've used one of the manager accounts to send scouts around the world, and as they uncover new talent and players that we might not have heard about, then I'll obviously share them with all of you, so you can either add them to your short list, so you can ignore them, or you can put in bids or whatever you want to do with them. I just thought it would add a little bit more. Now that I've kind of limited people's trading options, then maybe I need to pay it back a little bit by finding some decent prospects outside the league, because I appreciate that we've all got 100 million. All the managers started off with I think 100 million in the bank, and most of you have got pretty much all of that left, to be honest. So maybe it'd be interesting to see some players from outside of the league as well, because I've already heard, like, I mean, as you say, Ryan, you're paying quite a lot for Montella. You're recouping some of it on selling players outside of the league, but of course that's not gonna last forever, and we will have to maybe not in season 1, but season 2 perhaps, and definitely in season 3, it's going to be an issue. Clubs running out of money, and then what are you going to do then if you can't sign new contracts, if you can't get new players in? So that's something that we have to look out for.
Our team's running at a loss, Martin. Is that?
Yes and no. Teams are running at, so basically, a little bit of background, if you don't mind hanging on for just a minute. A little bit of background. All of the players that are in the Super League now, we can have it. It's the same for all of you, so it doesn't matter. Ryan, if you don't mind, I'll show you
Okay.
that we go to the basic wage. So all of you players earn £15,000 a week. That's their expected salary, and that's what they get paid. That's all done by messing around with the editor. When they ask for contract renewal, which they do frequently, oh, you've got so many unhappy people. They all hate Tudor. He'll be out soon. Don't worry. When they ask for new contracts, which they sometimes do, you will have seen in the comments. It says, "I've offered them a new contract." They ask for the same amount again. They only ask for 15,000, but their sign-on fee can vary, and some of them ask for like 2.5 million, and they won't take anything less, maybe to compensate for the wages. So what you do run at a loss at is your sign-on fees. So if you look at your finances here, so you have lost nearly 7 million this season, which is kind of average for most of you. And if you look at the expenditures, you can see here that that this year is 6.6 million. So that's it took quite a lot of time
Right.
for me to work all of this shit out, to be fair. So I hope you appreciate it. So
No, of course not.
so you run at a break even kind of a scenario with your merchandising and your things.
But the
But
signing on
but the
fees.
signing on fees are the ones that will drag it down. So you're probably going to have to look at, if you wanna stay in this season. Of course, you don't have season tickets, so I don't know how much that is. My hope is that the season tickets will cancel out what you spend on sign on fees, so you will effectively break even each season. So all that you spend is just on new players. So that you don't have to worry about clubs going out of business and things like that, because I think that had been a problem in a previous save, when you're bringing in players from outside as well. We'll see how that goes, but you should be able to offer more to new players that come in from outside of the league as well. But the ones that are in the Super League already, they should only be accepting or be asking for around 15,000 to change clubs. But we'll see how that happens. I haven't had time to test it, but fingers crossed that's how it's going to work, yeah, because otherwise it's going to be a mess.
Alf's trying to take a bit on off me in the chat.
Some Super League players will be released into the Australian League. Will you be listing them for other managers to buy? What if someone releases a player on free? I'm not sure I understand the quote. What am I not understanding here?
I think what it means is, if I was to buy one of the blokes you've just seen, and then I'd said to you, right, I want to release. Well, we won't. We just stick them in the reserves, won't we?
They'll go in the
If I maybe said,
they'll go in the
So,
reserves and
I
be
maybe said,
transferred. If you put a
I
player
think,
in the reserves, they will be listed and they will be sold to the highest bidder. If you want to make it public to the rest of the league, whatever. I mean, I haven't decided what should happen. What should happen with those players, to be honest. If you put someone in the sale, I mean, what has happened so far is that you've specified that you don't want to sell them to another Super League club, and then I won't. Yeah, then they'll be listed for sale, and the highest bidder from outside the league will pick that player up. So I think that's what's going to continue. I don't think anyone's going to be releasing any players, because they're on like that'll cost you, I don't know, they're all on 8-year contracts, so that's going to cost you like 4 or 5 million per player you want to release. So that's probably not going to happen.
yeah, I'll be doing that.
Yeah, I don't think so. So Fifey says, I think he means I'm on 25. I need to transfer list someone. Yes, you do need to transfer list someone, and you can decide yourself whether you want to sell them to another Super League team, or if you want to only sell them to teams outside the league. They will be dumped in the reserves. Their value will be set to automatic, and they will be sold to the first bid that comes in from whoever you decide, whether it's in or outside the league.
And they can't be played again, can they, once they go in the reserves?
No, once they've taken out of your squad of 24, then they can't go back in your squad of 24. And if you decide to have a squad of 20, I mean, I'll give Ryan a free shot, because maybe I've not explained it so well. But if you dump someone in reserves, then in theory you can't put them back again. Yeah. So if you've already said, I don't want this player anymore, he's in my reserves, then that's that's a one-way ticket. Yeah. So even if you reduce your squad to 21, you can't recall players you've already dumped to your reserves. They are considered not wanted by the club anymore. Of course, Ryan, if you want to change your mind, given that information, then you're
fine.
allowed. But I think that was your intention
in my
anyway.
Mind, they're sold.
Yeah, that was your intention anyway. Yeah.
Yeah. Is Dalmat gone, by the way? Or is he? He's still in the club, but he's not actually left yet.
Well, the Spanish.
Just out of interest.
Yeah, no, the Spanish window is not open yet. I think he joins on. Oh, we can see on future. Yeah, so he'll join on the 5th. So in 3 days' time, he goes to Madrid for 13.5 million.
Done all right there.
Yeah, that's all right, isn't it? Not too.
Yeah, he's shite. I told you he was shite, and you took him for me.
Did you even play him, or did you just go, yeah, I don't need him?
He
I
was
think game one.
released from me. You picked him up. He was one of my release players, wasn't he? You picked him up from me.
Yeah, I just had a spot in the squad. I thought I was a bit short in that position, but then I said I think I played him first game because I picked up an injury, but I've not played him since, and I won't play him again. So I thought, let's make some money and make some Montella money. That was the idea.
But at the end of the season, where do those reserves go? They don't go anywhere. They just stay there, don't they? I don't
Yeah.
know. They're not going anywhere. They stay until someone sells them. I think BTEC have listed someone who's never going to get sold. So I mean, they're just going to stay there, and you're going to have to pay their £15,000 a week wages. That's how it is.
you're not going to release him. You might as well sell him to another club for 100 grand than release him and pay the contract up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So no one's going to be releasing anybody.
Yeah,
I don't think.
I don't see how they can go back in the league, how they can go out on the market any other way than by being sold.
Mm.
So
and these players are generally they're not going to be very good, are they? No one's going to really want them. So that's why.
Rab Douglas? No. Who's the other one? Who's the keeper that BTEC listed? I can't remember. It's not Rab Douglas. It's another Scottish one maybe.
Have a look.
Not the Polish fella.
Oh,
He's
true.
not the
Yeah.
Polish
No,
fella, isn't
no. It's the other one. Yeah, you're right. I can just have a look. That's the advantage that I've got. It's Roy Carroll. It's a Northern Irish guy. Yeah, so he's listed. But no one's going to buy him, are they? Really? I mean, maybe. No one in the league's going to buy him, but maybe someone from outside the league will have a look.
I mentioned that I wanted a goalkeeper, and Andreas was saying, I've got Toldo could go. I says, yeah, but for me to get Toldo off you, you're going to want one of my good players. Whereas I can go out of the league, get a keeper, maybe not quite as good, but I can sacrifice Stephen Bywater.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sense in going outside the league if you can find somebody that fits.
And you can go to any. There's probably another 10 like highly 80 on CM Scout keepers in the Greek league or something like that. There's a bunch of very highly rated keepers still out there outside of the league that perhaps you could bring in. Yeah, I'm not sure if that answers the question around the reserves and the transfer listed players and all of this kind of stuff. Alf, what happens is that basically once a player goes to reserve, you can forget about it. I'll manage it from there, and then they'll eventually disappear, and I'll tell you if you get some money in return. That's it. What was the other question? Oh yeah, what was the other thing I was thinking about? In the beginning, Fifey said maybe we can close on that. Actually, Fifey said if you should recommend one position where each team should strengthen, we can maybe go through that quickly. What I will just quickly mention as well is that of course you've got the highest possible facilities and youth academies and all this kind of stuff. So you will get youth players through at some point because the squads are quite small. I think maybe 34 or something like that in total. You've got 24 in your first team and 10 reserves. I left in there just so we don't get complaints about the squad being too small. So if you get like super fantastic youth players coming through, I will tell you, obviously, in case you're interested.
Just before you start on this feature, I've got to go and collect the missus from a friend's house, so I'm going to leave you here.
That's okay, gents. Yeah, that's no problem. We'll run through the rest of it.
10 minutes.
Very trusting, letting your missus round to your mate's house.
Oh, not my mate, so mate.
Right. Well, thanks very much, Ryan. We'll catch you later.
Yeah, and I'll catch up with the rest of the show when I get back in about 20 minutes. But yeah, cheers.
Thanks very much. Speak to you soon. Right, Hodgie, we'll run through this quickly then. As promised, the show is keeping almost to an hour, a little bit longer, but that's just how it goes. We'll start at the top because they'll probably be the quickest. Valen United, where do they need to strengthen, if anywhere?
I wouldn't say they needed to strengthen anywhere. I think he's just strengthening his squad in general there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's not a particular position or anything. We can maybe bring them up like this. Toldo, Duff, Lisa, I don't know. There's not one player where you'd go, oh, he could do with a better one there, is it really?
Yeah, no.
No. Back to the league here. Hooligans.
Possibly a centre half.
Yeah, I mean he's got Campbell out injured for a long time, but the rest of them, Gamara, I mean he ended up playing Yakubu and he had Mexes on the bench, so he could maybe do with another defensive player.
Yeah.
Hornets. I mean, apart from strikers, I mean, looking at it, I think they could do with a player in pretty much every position.
Yeah, I think yeah, definitely. I think the two, if he brings two in, there'd probably be two that'll go straight into his 11.
Yeah, in like a defensive or a wing back role, perhaps.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, midfield on paper they're not great, but like Freddie Lundberg, he's played well. He's done some performances.
Done
I know
well so far.
he's not the most active of managers in transfers. He likes to stick with what he's got.
Yeah, but maybe he'll be after conceding 9 goals in 2 games, maybe he'll be inclined to add something to that squad. Yourself, one position that you would definitely like to strengthen in, apart from, I mean, the Okoronkwo guy that you brought in from Parma, I guess wasn't your dream signing, and you have mentioned that you find it difficult to let go of people. But if you could pick one player from any of the teams in the Super League, then who would that be?
Yeah, I'd bring in a proper midfield, a proper central midfielder. Yeah, maybe even somebody who I let go, Barry Ferguson, possibly.
Yeah,
but but I know that it's a position that there's not many out and out ones in the league, and the ones that there are, I don't think they're going to be let go. So
yeah, I mean, if you're looking at, I mean, the amount of times I've been sitting looking at this and just see what there is abroad, midfielder center, and then just sort by value. Yeah, I mean, there's Albertini who's wanted by 900 clubs, and then where's the next MC? Just sorting by value. Where is
and
he?
I think Albertini he's a decent player, but I probably won't play him. He probably won't get him aside. He's going to be, he's going to cost me a lot of money. Is it worth bringing him in just to sit him on bench? It's not for me for that.
Last Ricken is another one. I mean,
yeah,
but
he's not a bad player, to be fair.
692 average though, and
yeah, again, he's not somebody who I'm going to go out of my way to bring in.
And he's going to cost you 12-15 million as well, isn't it? Acuna at Saragossa, he's got good stats, but he's old. And he's already arranged the transfer. I mean, I've looked at this a lot, and you have to go really quite far down to find central midfielders, and then they aren't really that good. Even Tomic, of course, is half decent, but it's quite a lot of low stats. And Roma, he might not even want to leave, and he costs a lot of money. So yeah, fair enough. Alf says you can have Boya. I mean, presumably that's that's a deal long into the future that would be useful.
I'll take Lee Boy. Yeah, I'll have him.
Yeah,
if he's being serious there.
Bit of a dodgy leg at the moment. Yeah, well, maybe he might ask for someone decent. He might ask for Vieira in return or something like that. You never know.
Yeah.
Palmer, what does he got to do?
It sounds like slagging everyone off. I mean, in an ideal world, if you could bring another centre forward in who's going to get him some goals, that's probably what I'd look for. Maybe a goalkeeper, Paul Robinson and Dida. Two decent keepers, but they're not
that good.
I'd be surprised if you won the league with Dida or Robinson in goal.
That would be a bit of a shock. Midlothian. He needs another striker, doesn't he? I mean, he's got
two very good ones, like you say, and he's got nothing after that. I mean, our Dolphos even in this league is.
It's bizarre. I mean, Kuhl did okay up front for him when he played him, I think, a few weeks ago. But he's not a striker, is he? He's not a Super League striker. No. So, when it comes to Alf, what does Alf need? He's got good players, hasn't he?
He's got a good side. On a personal thing, I don't rate Del Piero, and I'm not a massive fan of Ortega. So maybe an AMC, but again. He's got a good side there, to be fair.
They've done okay, yeah, but yeah, I would kind of agree with you. I think maybe it's just because I've struggled to get the tune out of someone like Del Piero, no matter how many times I've really tried. And Ortega was amazing in CM3. I've never really used him much in the later versions, but yeah, so kind of see eye to eye. Alf says a goalkeeper, probably Barthez has not done particularly well so far this season, obviously.
Yeah, that's not a bad point. He's let him down a little bit.
What about Ryan? What does he need? A striker, according to him. He's bought Montella. That was his marquee signing this summer, or this winter. Montella, he's banking on him.
Yeah, probably go with that.
Would you have gone with Montella?
personally, I don't think it's that. I think he's overpaid for him, but I think he's not a bad player. And I would, if you offered me the three he's got or Montella, I'd probably be taking Montella. To be fair.
That is a fair point, actually. I mean, I know that Thierry Henry obviously did very well in real life, but maybe never really been the big hit in the
No,
game. Alan Shearer's
he's
too old. Alan Shearer's very good this first season, same as Batistuta, very good for first season, maybe second, and then after that, it's like, yeah. And Fowler again, I mean, he always seems to be doing very, very well if he kind of stays put where he is at the beginning of the game. But I've never really seen him do very well when he's been sold on to other clubs. So yeah, you're probably right with Montella there being a decent signing, even if 26 million perhaps is a little bit steep. But Super League prices. Kieran, what does he need?
Well, he says himself he needs a right winger. If he's letting Ex-Maria go, he needs to replace him.
True.
Obviously, I think he's letting him go because of his. Is he not in favour with the other lads? The chairman, is there something to do with that? Why he's going? So he's had his hand forced with that, and yeah, I think he'd just like to get a decent replacement in because he's losing a pretty handy player there.
Yeah. Alf says he'll sell Boyer at 20 million.
Deal.
Well, you've got an open space, so
Yeah,
so you could
I'll take that.
You could take that. Well, I'll let you and Alf sort that one out after. What does Chutley Cannons? What do they need? I mean, apart from a right beside midfielder, I don't like Romidal, but that's just me. So I would say they definitely need that. They only play with one striker, so Rossini seems to be enough. What do you think?
Maybe an AMC. I'd probably look for.
Bit more creativity behind.
Yeah, I think he's playing Kutsov there, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Who's maybe not quite ready yet. But again, I think Ryan's just pretending he's got to go pick someone up and just left me in this awkward spot of slagging everyone's team off and who they need.
Maybe. BTEC, they've got a good squad. We spoke a little bit about it, whether they needed a bit more experience, a bit more steel in that defensive midfield because they're playing children basically.
Yeah. BTEC. Maybe just rather than a position, maybe just a bit of an older head in a bit of experience, bit of been there, done that, sort of wherever. I don't think I wouldn't see needs. Maybe you sort of go DMC, bit of an influential position, try and get a Roy Keane-esque player. I mean, he's not going to get Roy Keane, but that's sort of leader, a bit of a leader.
True.
Good influence on
maybe his captain isn't who it should be. I don't know, but anyway, that's a good shout. Dragons.
Oh, they need a centre forward, don't they? I think we all know that.
They need someone who can score goals.
Yeah.
We'll see if Brosek. I think Brosek was going there. That was the plan anyway. We'll see if that.
I mean, I'm not sure about that.
Not sure if it's going to be. Well, they can't do any worse than that one. What Montella and Viduka has done, so it doesn't really matter. You could have probably taken Adolfo even or someone like that and crossed his fingers and hope for the best. Yeah. Sloths, defenders.
If he's going to carry on playing how he's playing, he needs an AMC because I don't think he's going to get away with playing Michael Ballack there.
No.
So if he sticks how he is, I would be looking at an AMC. I don't mind. I mean, I quite like Pat Zoglu that he's got there. He's always done a good job for me. DMC's pretty handy. I know I've heard quite a few people slag him off in here. I thought I'd have him. I don't mind him.
Yeah, half decent.
But I think in his setup, an AMC. Probably on paper, maybe a centre half.
And last but not least, Swindon Devils. What do they need?
A miracle.
Where do they need to strengthen? Do you think? I mean, they've got
a decent side. Maybe centre midfield. I don't rate Zidane. Emre's a decent guy to be sat at side of a really good player if you get my drift. So maybe probably centre midfield if you could go out and get maybe a bit of a ball winning centre midfielder in there. I think there's something in there that they conceding a lot of goals, and are they losing the midfield battle week in week out? I don't know. There's something in there because these centre halves can come out with decent ratings sometimes. You think that's a strange one. I just wonder if they're being overrun in midfield. I mean, Zidane, I really, really don't rate him. I think everyone remembers the Zinedine Zidane of real life, how good he was, especially during this period, and maybe sort of get blinded a little bit by that because I've just never had anything out of him.
Yeah. I mean, he's yeah, as you say, Emre didn't do well, and he got subbed. Obviously, Matt Holland. I saw him asking for someone, David Johnson at Forest. I'm not sure who David Johnson at Forest is.
He's a centre forward, isn't he? Is he about played at Ipswich? Did he go to Ipswich?
David Jones. Let's see. No, because we have like a super small database, so like a bunch of these players aren't. No, there's no David Johnson at that Forest. You can have.
Who's wanting David Johnson?
I don't know if he wanted him, but Fifey asked if he was on there. You can have Chris Bat Williams. He's not bad.
See, that's where it's all going wrong, Stephen. David bloody Johnson.
And Chris Pat Williams and Dookie. Oh, I thought it was Dookie Friedman, but it's David Freeman. It's almost as bad. We've got Andy Reid. Look at his half-hitting stats. Yeah. Stern John. Yeah, you could bring in anyone from Forest, and it would be a success. Darren Ward as well, Welsh international. Yeah. Right. We'll see what the transfer window brings for Fifey and for some of the other clubs. Maybe you need to run off and do a deal with Alf before his bedtime, with regards to getting Boyer. Maybe he's out for the season. You got to take that into consideration as well.
He is, but my business was done. I was not bringing anyone else in. If I could bring out Boyer in for 20 million, leave him till next season, I'll do that.
Rated 82, same as Boyer. Lee Boyer and Zinedine Zidane are rated equally in this game. Okay. Okay. I think on that bombshell, wasn't that what they used to say in Top Gear or something like that? I think on the bombshell that Lee Boyer and Zinedine Zidane are equally rated in Championship Manager. I'm not sure what else we can add. Well, have you got any famous last words from you, Hachi?
No, I just look forward to seeing who everybody brings in the window, and good luck Sunday for everybody.
Exactly, and yeah, the same for me. And if I can, if you have access, if you save the link to the Excel sheet, you can go and see the calendar. There's a few changes in when we're going to do different things due to my holidays, travels in December, etc., etc. So hopefully we'll have it all like sort of wound it up and ready to go before Christmas, and transfer window will all be sorted over like before Christmas. I think hopefully we'll get some of the deals done. But you can have a look at the calendar if you can't see it. If not, we'll speak about it again on Sunday. And I think the plan is that Fifey will be joining us, and of course anyone else welcome to pitch in if they want. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for your input. It was a pleasure.
Yeah,
and,
cheers. Yeah,
and we managed to chat about nothing for a couple of hours as usual, so that's all good.
Yeah.
Thanks to everyone for listening. Thanks to Ryan. It seems as if he's brought his phone with him in a car or something like that. I don't know what he's about, but he's online for some reason. So thanks to Ryan. Thanks for everyone. Thanks everyone for tuning in, for watching, and I'll speak to you on Sunday. Good night, everyone.
Good night.